Vikings fans, it's over. The season is done. Sadly, the Vikes got spanked today by the Rams. And as a fellow Vikings fan, I should be really, really sad. But of course, I didn't want the season to end. And it sucks that next week I don't get to watch the Vikings play football. But I guess if you're a realistic Vikings fan, are you really, really, really that surprised? Obviously, there's always that hope, and you think that maybe your team can go all the way. But realistically, the expectations going into the season were, hey, there's a rebuilding year. Hopefully, Darnold can keep us in it for a little while, and then McCarthy can come in after the bye week, and he could be the rookie of the year. But so once McCarthy gets hurt, all that and all hope is lost. And at that point, to be quite honest, I thought this was going to be such a lame season because even if Darnold had sucked, I was like, we can't even look forward to watching a rookie quarterback put up stats in the lost season. So I was so sad when McCarthy was announced that he was out for the year. But to our surprise, Darnold looked good for most of the season. So it was actually a really fun year. 14 wins that were a lot of fun to watch. The Packers win at home was super awesome. The Seahawks road win was super great. I could go on and on when they beat the Niners with the Jefferson 99-yard touchdown play. That was probably my favorite play of the season. That was so much fun. This defense was so much fun. But in reality, at the end of the day, you maybe can get lucky or get a couple things right here and there in the regular season. But in the playoffs, it does not fly. In the playoffs, you need the trenches to be strong. And the Vikings' interior offensive line is terrible. In the playoffs, you need a running game that can help you maintain a lead, that you can overpower the other team's defense. The Vikings did not have that. As much as they wanted to say that they wanted to be more of a running team this year, sure, they were more than last year, but last year they were pretty much dead last in the league. So that's not setting much of a standard. So the running game wasn't really that scary, if you ask me, because obviously they just didn't have the beef up front. They didn't have those guys up front. That's why my Super Bowl pick going into this playoffs was that it was going to be Philadelphia because they got Saquon Barkley and a beefy offensive line. And I thought the Chiefs because nobody's talking about them and those guys still figure out how to get it done and they have a defense. So defense wins championships. The Vikings, their corners this year, I don't know how they managed to put it together. Brian Flores is a great defensive coordinator. So again, this Vikings team had an awesome year, and it was so great to see and so much fun to watch. So them losing today sucks, but it doesn't come as that much of a surprise. Personally, I've been thinking that their Super Bowl window starts a year from now, not next season, because teams don't really win a Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback. So I don't expect them to be Super Bowl contenders next year with J.J. McCarthy, even if he's awesome. I think it would be great if they can do what Washington is doing right now. Washington just won their playoff game against Tampa Bay. So that's what I'm hoping for. I hope that next year with J.J. McCarthy, he can, prove that he can be our franchise quarterback, and hopefully they can get into the playoffs next year and maybe get a win. But, it rarely happens that a team wins a Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback. So Vikings fans, temper your expectations now and relax and don't be thinking Super Bowl next year already. But the best part coming out of all this is that it makes the decision much easier. You're not going to pay Sam Darnold a big quarterback money. And, I thought they should have franchise tagged him if he continued playing how he was playing. Clearly, he had it. So at that point now, if he wants to stick around and compete for the starting job with McCarthy and possibly end up being the backup for $15 million a year or something like that, probably, sure. Otherwise, he's going to go on his way, maybe get a starting job on a team that doesn't get the QB of the future, and he might make $20 million or $25 million a year or something like that, which, to be honest, good for him. He made some money. Everybody's talking about how much money he lost this year. Yeah, well, sure, but it's like a stock. It goes up, and it came down a little bit, but he's still going to make himself money off of this season. He's not going to suddenly now next year only command $10 million, which is what he made this year. So good for Sam Darnold. I hope he's not, going crazy and what a horrible way to live if he's just thinking to himself like, oh my God, those 2 games cost me so many millions. Like when you take a step back, you look at the whole season, he earned himself a paycheck for this next offseason. So obviously sucks to see him go out like that. But the main thing I want to talk about and my biggest concern after watching that game is the coaching of Kevin O'Connell. I love KOC. I want the Vikings to extend him. He's about to be going into his last year of his 4-year contract. I want him re-signed and to stick around. But people are distracted right now talking about how bad Darnold played, and he did not play great. He played pretty bad. But Kevin O'Connell, if his first season lost the playoff game to the Giants, if you count last week's game against the Lions, it had everything pretty much as a playoff game. He got severely outcoached by Dan Campbell. And today against Sean McVay, he got outcoached again, big time. And it's not just that. It's even the way that the team went out at the end. There was no sense of urgency. I mean, one of the most obvious examples is they were lined up with like 8 seconds, 7 seconds to go in the third quarter. And they had a hard count to try to get the defense to jump off sides when you're down by 18 points in the end of the third quarter. Like, what are you doing? Run a play. Like, you need to have a sense of urgency. And they had no sense of urgency today, even with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. There was no sense of urgency. It's like he quit. So that was really concerning. And it was just really concerning that he didn't, I feel like, help out Darnold. Clearly, Darnold is not ready for the big stage. He's just, he's not good in that scenario. So I mean, I even thought about betting the rushing over for Darnold, thinking that maybe KOC was going to draw up some design runs for him, like Josh Allen type style, to just loosen him up, get him in the game. It's the playoffs. If he gets hurt now, it's the playoffs. You go all out. But there was nothing. There was no creativity. This stems from last week. There was aggressiveness when you didn't need it. Earlier in the game, I feel like he went for it on a 4th and 3 when they were down by, I want to say 16 or something like that. And then when they were down by 24, he didn't go for it and he punted on like a 4th and 5. So and all over the place. I really just didn't understand. And that's what concerns me, because Darnold, it was a fun story. It was a fun season. If he sticks around as a backup, wonderful. But more than likely, he's gone. So I'm not concerned about Sam Darnold moving forward as a Vikings fan. But Kevin O'Connell, this is supposed to be our guy, our coach moving forward, and the culture is great and whatever. That's awesome, man. But you're not coming through in the playoffs. And it's not happening. And, I mean, you're the QB guru, so we'll give him credit for what he did with Darnold. And hopefully he does that with McCarthy. And I think if he does that with McCarthy and McCarthy can prove that he can not choke like Darnold has, then great. Then I think we're all good. But at the same time, if that doesn't work out, it's only a matter of time before JJ is not going to be happy. And by JJ, I mean Justin Jefferson. And if you lose Justin Jefferson, I mean, good luck coaching whatever is left after that. And as Vikings fans like myself, who love Justin Jefferson, not just because of the crazy awesome player that he is, but the leader that he is, that would be horrible. You might not even get a Super Bowl win, though. So overall, today as a Viking fan sucks, but in reality, big picture, it's fine. We got an extra week of football. We got 14 wins and an exciting season and exciting moments and a defense that was awesome. It makes the decision way easier to let Darnold walk and move on to JJ McCarthy. So now we can be excited about seeing the rookie quarterback. Let's see what he can do. Plus, now that you don't have to pay Sam Darnold, you can address all those flaws that were sticking out like a sore thumb today. Interior offensive line, you need to revamp that right away. Defensively, cornerbacks, you need secondary help. And, I don't know. I mean, Cam Bynum might not stick around. Harrison Smith, man, I really hope he doesn't retire because we love Harrison Smith. But maybe if he's good with a sort of rotational safety position, he can kind of stick around for another year. But I have a feeling he might retire, especially with the team now moving on more than likely to the rookie quarterback. And I think just knowing that Super Bowl window in reality doesn't start until at least another year from now. McCarthy's got to get a year just being the leader, the quarterback, getting acclimated to the speed of the game, realizing what playoff, then another transition if they make the playoffs to know what it's like to play in the playoffs. So everything that all the other awesome quarterbacks for the most part had to go through to get to that Super Bowl window. So I don't know what happens with Harrison Smith. I hope he stays, but I have a feeling today was his last day as an NFL player. Sadly, I hope not. But it was awesome watching him. But that's the recap. Tough way to go out for the Vikings. But realistically speaking, hey, what did you expect out of this team that was riding on a crazy Cinderella story? I bought in, especially after the Packers win. I was like, okay, maybe they can do this if they beat Detroit. But in reality, those flaws came out. Once you pressured the Vikings, that interior line could not hold up. And then Darnold's just put in situations where he has no time at that point. Yes, he still missed throws and didn't make good plays today. But a lot of the times, he's just under pressure. The routes are deep routes. I didn't think KOC helped him out with any, quick 5-yard slants. Like, where's the slant? When's the last time we saw like a nice, just quick slant by a Viking receiver? So, nothing underneath to give him options to throw except maybe the check down. And by the time he looks to the check down, it's too late. So, I mean, it is what it is. Tough way to go out. But Skol Vikes, baby. Promising future ahead. JJ McCarthy hopefully does his thing next year and can be that hope for the Vikings moving forward. And we'll see how it all plays out. They got a ton of cap space. So I'm excited to see what they do with that. And we'll see. So that was the recap. Hey, I don't know. I had the Eagles as the best team in the NFC going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what I think would happen. But after seeing the Rams today, I think I'm a prisoner of the moment right now. But it would become one hell of a story if Stafford beats the Eagles and then has to go to Detroit for the ultimate revenge game and beats the Lions in Detroit to get to the Super Bowl. And then Mahomes wins third Super Bowl in a row. So just saying, Chiefs, Rams, Chiefs, 3-peat. We'll see. But I still think the Eagles. I don't know what I think. The Eagles-Rams game now is super tough to pick. But originally I had the Eagles. But after seeing the Rams today, that defensive line of theirs looks pretty scary. And the way the Eagles played against the Packers didn't really convince me that their passing game is up to par. I still think they got a stud offensive line and they can run the ball. And if they play with the lead, I think they're in business. But if the Rams go up early, watch out. All right, till next time. Skol Vikes.